Hello and welcome to another video from Ethereal Gaming. Today I'm going to be looking at the ELC EVEN 90 and it's a bizarre looking light French premium tank. It's incredibly small and has a very odd shape, as you can see. Now I've struggled with this tank quite a bit since I've had it. I don't have a great skilled crew and I find it incredibly situational. It has a 3-round auto loader, but when you're playing some of the city maps or some of the maps where you don't have big open fields and nice bushes to sit in, that I don't do so well. So I do find it a bit situational. But in terms of what I take on it, I do have 6th Sense. 6th Sense is absolutely mandatory for this tank. I do find it does best in a more static fashion, hiding in a bush, giving some great spotting. It's got excellent camouflage rating and we need to try and maximize that to get the best out of the tank. What I'm taking in terms of equipment, that Commander's Vision system to aid with the spotting of concealed enemies and enemies on the move. Because I don't have a great crew, I don't have all the view range skills, I need the binoculars just to give me that additional view range, and that really does help. But given that I'm playing the tank in a more static fashion than active scouting, than dueling other light tanks flying around the battlefield, actually the binoculars are a great addition. And I've also gone with the low noise exhaust system. And this equipment setup is very much based because of the skills that I have on the crew. I think there's definitely a case where you potentially, if you had a much better crew, you could change the binoculars out for coated optics. You might want to put vents in certain cases, and I think it's definitely worth having that alternate build once you've got the third field mod. So if you can see with what we currently have, we have that minus 20% to concealment of enemy vehicles behind foliage and the minus 12.5% to concealment of moving enemy vehicles from the Commander's Vision system. We have a 475 meter view range, and in terms of concealment, it's pretty good in stationary, that 31%. So what I'm going to show you now is we're going to go into a game and see when sometimes just being static, just being that bush that moves slowly around the battlefield can be such a huge asset to the team, and that shooting the gun isn't always the best way to get that win and help the team, and we're going to see that as we go forward. So let's jump into that game and see what happens. So here we are on Fisherman's Bay, and we are on the south side of the map. It's normally quite a good map for light tanks and spotting, though you do have to be careful of the mediums that are playing around the middle ridge. And on the south side, I actually find it's potentially worse for me as that ELC looking for a bush. I think there are better positions when coming in from the north, so that's instantly going to be in my mind. Also, one of the other things is, one of the critical skills for the crew I don't have is the camouflage skill on all my crew members. And normally I take the camouflage directive, which I forgot to do so in this match, which made me play maybe a little more cautiously than I might have done, given that I was losing that extra camo rating. So instantly I'm going to head over onto the left flank, and we're going to look for that best position to maximise that view range and spotting of the enemy team, particularly those where we know there's going to be most likely quite a few tank destroyers up in those hills. And I'm trying to find a way where I can get far enough away from the medium tanks in the mid-ridge, but far enough forward that I can see as much of the battlefield as possible. And that's one of the things, is you want to try where you can be as central as possible to maximise that entire view range circle, covering as much of the battlefield. So you can see already we've spotted a Progetto, so actually a medium coming down that left flank and looking to put pressure on the Batchat. Now, I don't particularly, while the Batchat's done well, he's pushed forward. It's quite a vulnerable position. He's quite isolated and alone. There's not a lot of cover, and he can't actually see much of that map. And instantly, he's been rushed by the enemy Batchat and a Skoda T50. And there's an ELC EVEN 90 going in there as well. So it looks like actually this position's worked quite well, given how many the enemy team are coming there. But you saw that Progetto from my team. He came almost to where I was, almost gave my position away. But you can see the difference in camouflage values there, whereas he was instantly targeted and killed. And that also tells us there are some tank destroyers up in those hills. So there doesn't seem to be much challenge from the enemy medium tanks. They seem to have ignored the mid-ridge in the game. And that ELC now, he's come out, and already I'm up 2,000 spotting in this position, and we're in less than 2 minutes of the game. And now that Object 263 comes out, and another AIM 40T, wow, we've literally got half of the enemy team coming down this flank. I was hoping actually for a bit more damage, but it seems like we were having some bounces and misses from the our own team pushing in. But as you can see now, 3,300, and it just keeps going. 4,000 spotting now from this location with this build. And now 4,500, and it just keeps going up. And I certainly have been fortunate in this case, where so many of the enemy team have pushed down that flank that I've got good spotting on, and the enemy team haven't challenged that mid-ridge at all, and are allowing themselves to be shot in the flank and from the front. Often find the left flank it's difficult to push without a combined effort, because it's quite easy to defend from the south side with tank destroyers up in the hills, using the bunker as hard cover up there and using the concealment they get from the trees. And of course here they've got the additional advantage of the spotting and providing a range. So it seems like the game has calmed down a bit from those first few minutes, but we can get some more spotting on that Progetto there. And the enemy team, they've actually only lost 2 tanks, but they're already down 2,500 hit points. So I'm just holding steady here, and that's because I do know there's tank destroyers, there's medium tanks, there's a light tank, there's a guard over on the other side. And I want to inch forward, I want to try and push forward, and I want to utilise my low noise exhaust system and the camouflage rating I have as much as possible and push forward. And there we go, we've just moved forward a little bit and spotted that Progetto, keeping our speed slow as we move forward. And there's an E50 up there now as well. Fortunately, we're not getting any shots put into those, but we do know our team are under pressure elsewhere on the map. So what is important is to keep providing that support, stay alive. And that's one of the things as a light tank. I see a lot of light tanks dying early in the game, and it can be difficult. You're rushing into a position, you want to get into that good position. Sometimes the enemy light tank goes to the same place, you're spotted and you take a hit. But it's so beneficial for those light tanks if they can survive into the second half of the game. The light tanks, when you've got less players on the battlefield, become absolutely invaluable in providing that situational awareness to the rest of the team, and it's much easier to do so without being spotted, because there are less enemy tanks on the field and more of a map to play in. So we've inched forward as much as we can, and at the moment we are again trying to spot as much of the map as possible, keeping aware of where the rest of our team are on the map and how the battle is going. This is what I say when sometimes it's okay just to be that bush. And as you can see, 5,000 spotting damage is pretty good to start out the game. So it still looks fairly even. We are up on hit points, we're 3k up on hit points, but in terms of number of tanks, number of guns on the battlefield, we are actually down. But it does look like now our team have pushed up through the town and have actually taken the town from the enemy team. But I think we definitely had the advantage of numbers there, and as we can see now, we're starting to get some shots put into those medium tanks. Support from the Barask and the C52. The 263 is relocating, that's cost him, and we've kept him spotted throughout that, as you can see, so our team can put the shots down on those tanks that are looking to relocate, given they've realised that the flank on the in the town has now crumbled. So we're trying to keep an eye on where everybody is, and I'm thinking about where I want to go next. I'm watching the battlefield develop, and I'm always sort of planning that next step, planning where I want to go next. I'm trying to use the terrain. I'm a very small tank, keeping my speed low, and looking for that next bush that's going to give me the concealment that I need. And I know where the enemy team are now sort of concentrated in this portion of the map, so I'm trying to get as much vision and spotting in that portion of the map as I can, trying to reveal some of those more well camouflaged tank destroyers. And what I can see is that we're certainly struggling on the left flank. We haven't lost it yet, but there we go, we're getting some more spotting now. We're up to 5,700 spotting as we continue to provide that support to our team. The E50 now looking to go in and support his teammates, but has found himself tracked and now under an awful lot of pressure. And the E50 there taken out by our own E50, supported by the WZ120. The Progetto really doesn't know what he's done, and I think that's one of the things that's happened in this game, is that a lot of people are using Sixth Sense, and as soon as they get spotted with that Sixth Sense, they become very cautious. They don't necessarily, they might have been making a push forward and suddenly they stop. So you shouldn't underestimate the advantage you can actually get. And I'm going to take a shot here, because taking a tier 9 TD out like that is incredibly useful. I know I'm going to be spotted, but the Progetto, if he comes out, he is going to get shot. So let's get some shots in there as well. Let's help out the team at the end and get that extra bit of damage. But as you can see, they're waiting for the 3 shots. We've now got a bit of a reload. You don't actually get much damage with each shot, which is why I don't particularly like dueling enemy light tanks in this tank. So we're looking there, waiting for that reload. Unfortunately, we don't get it, but we do get some more spotting damage, and that's the game over. And we've ended the game with 5,700 spotting damage, 500 damage on the enemy TDs. I think that is an excellent example of where being just a bush can really help out the team and actually cause an entire large push from the enemy team down one flank to stall, as they become much more cautious because of being spotted. And as I say, I think some of those mediums that were at the back of the map that might have pushed further forwards decided not to because they were spotted. So there we have the ELC EVEN 90, the moving bush. You've been watching Athariel Gaming. Thanks very much for your support. If you like it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why you didn't like it, and we'll keep looking to improve. See you on the battlefield.